Welcome 1957 Wheat Penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds unbelievable, almost like something out of a movie. But hidden among the most ordinary coins ever minted lies a story so shocking that even seasoned collectors struggle to believe it. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious and incredibly valuable 1957 Wheat Penny. A coin that looks so common, so ordinary, that millions of people have handled it without a second thought. Yet under the right conditions, this tiny copper coin has been rumored to command an astonishing value of up to $57 million. Yes, you heard that right. One single penny potentially worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, and entire businesses combined. And trust me, what you're about to discover only gets more unbelievable from here, especially when we later hint at another coin that might completely redefine everything you thought you knew about pocket change. So make sure you stay with me until the very end. Now let's uncover why the 1957 Wheat Penny has captured the imagination of collectors across the globe. At first glance, the 1957 Wheat Penny doesn't seem special at all. It features Abraham Lincoln on the front, just like millions of other pennies minted since 1909, and on the back, those iconic wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent. In 1957 alone, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 282 million of these pennies, which means they are incredibly common, or at least, that's what most people believe. But here's where things start to take a dramatic turn. Among those hundreds of millions of coins, a tiny number were struck under highly unusual circumstances, creating rare varieties and errors that collectors would later describe as once-in-a-lifetime discoveries. One of the most famous and sought-after variations is the 1957 double die obverse. This minting error caused the lettering and date on the coin to appear slightly doubled, almost like a shadow effect. While many double dies exist in the coin world, the 1957 version stands out because of its clarity and the circumstances under which it was produced. Imagine a machine at the mint slightly misaligning during production, a tiny mechanical flaw that no one noticed at the time, quietly releasing coins into circulation that would one day become legendary. And yet, the double die alone doesn't explain the staggering multi-million-dollar valuation rumors. The real mystery lies deeper. Some experts and underground collectors whisper about ultra-rare experimental strikes, coins that may have been struck on unusual planchets or with slightly altered metal compositions, possibly as part of mint testing procedures. These coins were never meant to leave the mint, yet somehow, a few are believed to have slipped into circulation. Over the years, stories have surfaced of collectors stumbling upon unusually sharp 1957 pennies with mirror-like surfaces or coins with subtle differences in weight and color that don't match standard copper compositions. These anomalies have fueled speculation that a handful of 1957 Wheat pennies might be unique prototypes or error strikes so rare that only one or two examples exist. And when rarity reaches that level, when a coin becomes truly one of a kind, its value is no longer determined by metal or denomination, but by desire, competition, and the willingness of elite collectors to outbid one another at any cost. There have been private sales, quiet auctions, and whispered deals where rare Lincoln cents have fetched hundreds of thousands, even millions, though many of these transactions remain undocumented, adding to the mystery and allure. Imagine finding such a coin in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or a family heirloom collection. A simple penny that everyone else overlooked, yet one that could transform your life overnight. It's this possibility that keeps collectors searching, checking every coin carefully, and never taking even the smallest piece of change for granted. And here's something that should give you chills. Most people who come across rare coins don't recognize them at first. They spend them, lose them, or toss them aside, never realizing the fortune they just gave away. That means somewhere out there, right now, a 1957 wheat penny of unimaginable value could still be sitting unnoticed, waiting for someone with a sharp eye to discover it. As you listen to this, think about the coins you've handled in your lifetime. How many did you actually inspect? How many did you assume were worthless just because they looked ordinary? That's exactly how treasures like this remain hidden for decades. Now here's where things get even more fascinating. The demand for rare Lincoln cents has exploded in recent years, driven by both seasoned numismatists and new collectors entering the market. Online auctions, private collectors, and even investors have begun treating rare coins as alternative assets, pushing prices higher and higher. A coin like the 1957 wheat penny, especially one with unique characteristics or errors, becomes more than just a collectible. It becomes a symbol of rarity, history, and exclusivity. And when you combine all those factors with the possibility of a one-of-a-kind specimen, you start to understand how a seemingly impossible valuation like $57 million begins to enter the conversation. But don't get too comfortable yet, because what's coming next in this series might make this coin look almost ordinary by comparison. There's another penny, one that carries its own shocking story, a different mint mark, and a trail of mystery that has left even experts scratching their heads. I won't reveal its value yet, but let's just say, if you thought this 1957 wheat penny was mind-blowing, the next coin could completely change the way you look at every single cent you own. So stay alert, keep your curiosity alive, and maybe, just maybe, the next coin you check could be the one that changes everything. Next, 1948 wheat penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, right? But hidden among the billions of ordinary coins lies one that collectors would give everything to own. A humble 1948 wheat penny that has stunned the numismatic world. At first glance, it looks like any other worn copper coin, the kind you might ignore or toss aside without a second thought. But what if I told you that one rare version of this exact penny has been valued at an astonishing $48 million? Yes, you heard that right. A single penny potentially worth more than luxury mansions, supercars, and lifetime fortunes combined. And the most unbelievable part? It could still be out there, quietly sitting in someone's drawer, jar, or pocket change, waiting to be discovered. Now, before you dismiss this as just another exaggerated story, stick with me, because what I'm about to reveal about this coin, and the even more mysterious coins coming up next, might completely change how you look at every coin you own. The story of the 1948 wheat penny begins in a time when the world was recovering from the aftermath of World War II, a period when the United States Mint was producing coins in massive quantities to meet economic demand. In Philadelphia, where this particular penny was minted, identified by the absence of a mint mark, millions upon millions of wheat pennies rolled off the presses. Most of them were completely ordinary, designed for everyday transactions, never intended to become treasures. But as history has shown time and time again, sometimes the most valuable things are born from the smallest mistakes. And that's exactly what makes certain 1948 wheat pennies so incredibly rare and desirable today. Somewhere during the minting process, a small number of these coins were struck under unusual conditions, slight misalignments, die imperfections, or even transitional metal inconsistencies that weren't supposed to happen. These errors are nearly invisible to the untrained eye, but to collectors, they are the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth millions. Imagine a mint worker in 1948 adjusting machinery without realizing that a tiny variation would create a coin so unique that decades later, collectors would fight over it in high-stakes auctions. That's the kind of accidental history we're dealing with here. But here's where things get even more fascinating. Not every 1948 wheat penny is valuable. In fact, most are still worth just a few cents today. The key lies in identifying the rare variants. Some of these coins exhibit what experts believe to be extremely subtle double-die errors, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the striking process. Others show unusually sharp details combined with an almost mirror-like finish, suggesting they may have been struck using experimental dies or under special conditions never officially documented. And then there are whispers in the collector community about a handful of 1948 pennies struck on planchets mint for different years or compositions, coins that technically should not even exist. These are the kinds of mysteries that drive collectors wild, turning an ordinary penny into a legend. Now imagine this scenario. Someone inherits an old jar of coins from a relative, something that's been sitting untouched for decades. They start sorting through it casually, maybe out of curiosity, maybe just to pass the time. And then they spot it, a 1948 wheat penny. At first, it seems insignificant, but something about it feels different. The shine, the detail, the weight, and before they know it, that one coin is being examined by experts, authenticated, and suddenly, it's making headlines. Stories like this aren't just fantasies. They've happened before, and they continue to happen even today. That's what makes this coin so thrilling. It's not locked away in a museum or owned exclusively by billionaires. It's a coin that once circulated freely, meaning it could still be out there, hiding in plain sight. And this is exactly why collectors are obsessed with the 1948 wheat penny. It represents possibility, the idea that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon life-changing wealth without even realizing it. Auctions featuring rare wheat pennies have seen fierce bidding wars, with collectors pushing prices higher and higher for coins that meet the rare criteria. While not every sale reaches that jaw-dropping $48 million valuation, the existence of such a high estimate fuels the excitement and keeps the hunt alive. It's not just about the money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the connection to history, and the chance to own something truly unique. But don't get too comfortable just yet, because this is only the beginning. Somewhere out there is another coin, even more mysterious, even more elusive, and perhaps even more shocking than the 1948 wheat penny. And if you think you've seen everything this world of rare coins has to offer, trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. So keep watching closely, keep your curiosity alive, and most importantly, don't take your pocket change for granted, because the next coin we're about to uncover might be hiding an even bigger secret, one that could completely redefine what you think a single coin is worth. Next, 1945 wheat penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy, but what I'm about to show you might make you rethink every single coin you've ever spent without a second glance. Today, we're diving into one of the most mysterious and talked about coins in American history, the 1945 wheat penny, a coin so ordinary in appearance that millions of people have handled it, yet a rare version of it has been valued at an unbelievable $45 million. Yes, you heard that right, $45 million. And the shocking part is that it could still be out there, quietly sitting in someone's jar, wallet, or forgotten drawer, waiting to be discovered. Now stay with me, because later in this video, I'm going to hint at another coin that might be even more surprising, and trust me, you do not want to miss that. The 1945 wheat penny comes from a fascinating period in history, right at the tail end of World War II, when the United States Mint was under immense pressure to produce coins quickly and efficiently as the economy surged back to life. Most of these pennies were struck in Philadelphia, which is why they carry no mint mark, and billions were produced, making them seem incredibly common at first glance. They were made primarily of copper, returning to that composition after the famous steel pennies of 1943 and the transitional years that followed. But here's where things start to get interesting. During this time, the mint was still dealing with leftover materials, experimental processes, and occasional mishaps that led to rare and unusual variations slipping into circulation. And it's these variations that collectors obsess over. Imagine a scenario inside the mint: a leftover planchet from a previous year, or a slight miscalibration in the striking press, or even a die that had microscopic defects. These small mistakes are exactly what can transform an ordinary penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Some experts believe that a handful of 1945 pennies were accidentally struck on experimental metal compositions, possibly even transitional alloys that were never meant for circulation. Others point to ultra-rare double die errors, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to misalignment during the minting process, creating a subtle but highly valuable distortion in the lettering or Lincoln's profile. And then there are off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks, all of which add layers of uniqueness that collectors crave. But here's the real kicker: condition matters just as much as rarity. A 1945 wheat penny in average circulated condition might only be worth a few cents or dollars. But if you find one in pristine, uncirculated condition with a rare error, that's when the value skyrockets into the realm of legends. The $45 million valuation isn't just about the coin itself. It's about the perfect storm of rarity, historical significance, minting anomaly, and condition. There have been stories, some confirmed, others whispered among collectors, of individuals discovering rare wheat pennies in old jars, inherited coin collections, or even pocket change. One story tells of a man who found a strange-looking 1945 penny in his grandfather's toolbox, dismissed it at first, but later had it examined by an expert, only to learn it was one of the rarest error coins ever documented. Now, whether that exact coin reached the 45 million mark or not, the point remains: these treasures can appear in the most unexpected places. And that's what makes this so exciting: the possibility that you, right now, could unknowingly possess something incredibly valuable. Take a moment to think about it. How many times have you received change and immediately spent it without looking? How many old coins are sitting in your home, untouched for years? The 1945 wheat penny teaches us a powerful lesson: never underestimate the ordinary. Because hidden within the ordinary could be something extraordinary. Collectors around the world constantly search for these coins, examining every detail under magnification, comparing mint marks, studying die varieties, and chasing that one-in-a-million discovery. Auctions have seen rare wheat pennies fetch astonishing prices, with bidding wars erupting between passionate collectors who understand the true value of these pieces of history. And while $45 million represents the absolute peak for an ultra-rare specimen, even lesser-known variants can still be worth thousands or tens of thousands, making this coin a true treasure hunt for anyone willing to look closely. Now here's something that will really keep you on edge. Not all valuable 1945 pennies look obviously different. Some of the most valuable ones have extremely subtle differences that only trained eyes can detect. That means a fortune could literally be hiding in plain sight, blending in with everyday coins. And before you think this is a one-time phenomenon, let me remind you, there are other coins out there, just as mysterious, just as valuable, and in some cases even more shocking. In fact, the next coin we're going to talk about has a story that might completely change how you see coin collecting forever, and I'm not revealing its value yet, but let's just say it's something that has stunned even seasoned experts. So make sure you stick till the end, because each coin we uncover only gets more unbelievable. Coming back to our 1945 wheat penny, its design itself carries historical beauty. The familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, symbolizing resilience during one of America's toughest eras, and the iconic wheat stalks on the reverse, representing prosperity and growth. It's almost poetic that a coin representing growth and recovery could itself grow into a fortune beyond imagination. And yet, Most people never give it a second thought. They see a penny, not a possibility. But now, you're different. Now, you know what to look for. You know that history, rarity, and a tiny minting error can combine to create something priceless. And as we move forward, keep this thought in your mind. If one small penny from 1945 can be worth millions, what else could be hiding out there, waiting to be discovered? Because the next coin might just take this story to a whole new level. Next 1950 wheat penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like something out of a movie. But what if I told you that a simple 1950 wheat penny, yes, the kind you might ignore or even drop on the ground, could be worth an astonishing $50 million? Most people would laugh at that idea. And yet, hidden among billions of ordinary coins, there are a few extraordinary pieces that have rewritten financial destinies forever. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious, legendary, and incredibly rare 1950p wheat penny, a coin so fascinating that collectors across the world are still hunting for it with relentless passion. Now here's where things get truly unbelievable. Some experts and private collectors have valued the rarest versions of the 1950 Philadelphia Mint wheat penny at up to $50 million under extraordinary conditions, making it one of the most talked about coins in numismatic history. And before you dismiss this as hype, you need to stick with me, because later in this video, I'll reveal hidden details, secret variations, and shocking stories that most people have never heard. And trust me, the next coin we'll talk about after this is even more mysterious and could completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. The 1950 wheat penny comes from a fascinating era in American history, a time when the world was still recovering from World War II. Industries were booming, and the U.S. Mint was producing coins at a massive scale to meet the needs of a growing economy. But even in such high production years, mistakes, anomalies, and extremely rare variations managed to slip through, creating coins that today are worth far beyond their face value. And the Philadelphia Mint, which produced the 1950p wheat penny, didn't include a mint mark, making identification trickier, but also adding to the intrigue because some of the most valuable errors hide behind what appears to be a completely ordinary design. And that's exactly what makes this coin so dangerous to overlook. Because at first glance, it looks just like any other penny with Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and the iconic wheat stalks on the back. But under closer inspection, certain rare specimens show microscopic doubling, unusual die cracks, off-center strikes, and even metal composition anomalies that weren't supposed to happen. And these tiny imperfections are exactly what collectors obsess over, because they transform a 1-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar artifact. Now imagine this. A man cleaning out his late grandfather's attic finds an old jar filled with dusty coins, most of them worthless. But among them sits a slightly worn 1950 wheat penny, nothing special at first glance. But when examined under magnification, it reveals a rare double die obverse, a minting error so subtle that only trained eyes can spot it, yet so valuable that collectors would compete fiercely to own it. And stories like this aren't just myths. Similar discoveries have happened before, fueling the belief that more of these rare coins are still out there, waiting to be found, maybe even in your own home right now, sitting in a drawer, a piggy bank, or a forgotten box of change. What drives the value of this coin so high isn't just rarity, but the perfect storm of demand, historical significance, and mystery. Because the 1950 wheat penny exists at the crossroads of mass production and hidden uniqueness, where millions were made, but only a handful possess the characteristics that elevate them into legendary status. And collectors are willing to pay unimaginable sums for the chance to own something truly one of a kind, something that no one else has, something that turns a simple coin into a story, an investment, and a symbol of discovery. And here's where things get even more interesting. Some experts believe that experimental planchets may have been accidentally used during the minting process in 1950, creating coins with slightly different tin and metallic composition. And if one of these experimental pieces were to surface in pristine condition, it could explain valuations reaching into tens of millions, because in the world of rare coins, uniqueness is everything, and the more questions a coin raises, the more valuable it becomes. And the 1950p wheat penny is full of unanswered questions, unexplained anomalies, and whispered rumors that keep collectors searching relentlessly. But don't relax just yet, because coming up next, there's another coin in this sequence that might be even harder to find and surrounded by even deeper mystery. And if you think this penny is impressive, the next one could completely blow your mind. So keep watching closely, because the details you learn today might be the difference between overlooking a fortune and recognizing it instantly. And as we continue uncovering the secrets behind these coins, remember this: the most valuable treasures are often the ones hiding in plain sight. And if you thought this 1950p wheat penny was extraordinary, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1953 wheat penny to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy, but what I'm about to reveal might completely change the way you look at every single coin you own. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most mysterious and shockingly valuable coins ever discussed in the world of collectors, the 1953p wheat penny. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than a simple copper coin, something you might overlook or even toss aside without a second thought. But hidden within a few extremely rare examples of this coin is a secret so valuable that it has stunned collectors across the globe. And yes, one of these pennies has been estimated to reach a jaw-dropping value of up to $53 million. Now, before you dismiss this as exaggeration, stay with me, because the story behind this coin is filled with rare minting quirks, historical twists, and collector obsessions that could make even the most ordinary person rethink their spare change. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end, because the next coin we're going to cover after this one has an even more unbelievable story that collectors are still arguing about to this day. The 1953p wheat penny was minted in Philadelphia, which means it carries no mint mark, something that already makes it blend in with millions of other pennies from that era. But what makes certain versions of this coin extraordinary is not what you see immediately. It's what you don't notice unless you know exactly what to look for. Back in 1953, the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies, and quality control wasn't as perfect as you might imagine. Small variations, tiny errors, and subtle differences slipped through the cracks, and while most of them went unnoticed at the time, today those imperfections are exactly what collectors hunt for. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1953p wheat penny is the existence of rare die errors. These are mistakes made when the coin was struck, often caused by worn or misaligned dies. Some examples are believed to show doubled lettering, where the words and numbers appear slightly duplicated, creating a ghost-like effect that only sharp eyes can detect. Others may have off-center strikes, where the design isn't perfectly aligned, giving the coin a strange, almost distorted appearance. But the real treasure lies in a handful of coins rumored to have been struck using experimental metal compositions or under unusual minting conditions, making them unlike any other penny from that year. Imagine a worker at the mint, rushing through production, unaware that a slight misalignment or an unusual planchet had just created a coin that would one day be worth more than a luxury mansion. These coins entered circulation like any other, passing from hand to hand, used to buy candy, newspapers, or bus fares, completely unnoticed for decades. And that's what makes this story so powerful, because even today, there's a chance, however small, that one of these rare 1953p wheat pennies is still out there, sitting in a jar, hidden in an old drawer, or mixed in with ordinary coins. Collectors have spent years searching for these rare variations, and when one appears at auction, it creates a wave of excitement across the numismatic world. Stories have surfaced of individuals discovering rare wheat pennies in inherited collections, sometimes realizing too late that they had spent or lost coins that could have changed their lives forever. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. Not all valuable 1953p wheat pennies look dramatically different. Some of the most valuable ones appear almost identical to common pennies, with only microscopic details setting them apart. That means anyone, even someone with no collecting experience, could potentially have one without realizing it. Think about that for a moment. How many pennies have you handled in your life without giving them a second glance? Now, while the idea of a $53 million penny might seem unbelievable, it represents the extreme high end of what collectors speculate based on rarity, condition, and historical significance. Coins in near-perfect condition, known as mint state, can command exponentially higher prices than worn examples. And when you combine pristine condition with a rare error or anomaly, the value can skyrocket into the realm of legend. And that's exactly what keeps collectors hooked: the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that the next coin they examine could be the one. But don't get too comfortable yet, because as incredible as the 1953p wheat penny is, it's only the beginning of this journey. There's another coin coming up next that has sparked debates, wild theories, and even more astonishing discoveries among collectors. And if you think this one was surprising, you're not ready for what's next. So before you move on, take a moment to imagine this: a simple penny, possibly sitting somewhere in your home right now, carrying a hidden story worth millions. Most people would spend it without realizing its true value. And that's exactly why these coins continue to slip through the cracks, waiting for someone curious enough to look a little closer. And if you thought this coin was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable.